Good evening and welcome to The Square. Tonight we are going to be discussing the recent mayoral resignations that have taken place across the country. The last time there was something similar to this was in 2015 when 7 mayors resigned within 3 months. This year starting with the mayor of Kigali who resigned citing personal reasons on April 10th of this year. There's been a total of 4 officials from mayor to district secretaries who have voluntarily resigned from their positions. We are here tonight to discuss these events on The Square and look at issues of performance and accountability. Joining The Square with us tonight, we have 2 guests, and I'll start with you on my right. We are joined by Mr. Innocent Uwimana, who is the chairperson of RALGA. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
And we're also joined on my extreme right with Bob Gachire. Welcome to the show, who is in charge of the Director General of Territorial Administration, acting at the Ministry of Local Government. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
As always, we're joined by the resident panelists on the show. Myself, my name is Dan Mpisi. I'm part of The Square. And Berna, always a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.
And Ephraim, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
It has.
I
missed you.
I know. How are your travels in Botswana?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. And just before we start with The Square, what we usually do at The Square is just have a look at the week that has been, even though it's just the middle of the week. And I'll start with you, Berna. How has the week been for you? What are some of the key highlights thus far?
You know, I've been struggling to find some good news in my head to talk about, but I haven't found any good news at the moment. Perhaps you can help me if there's some good news. But right now, if you look at one, of course, the resignations. We don't know why, because I mean it's a bit selfish when someone says personal reasons. That's one. So you have the resignations. Of course, we are still dealing with the aftershock of the flooding. It remains a major concern because these families, most of them are still displaced. So that's still an issue. Across the region, as I came in, we are having reports of protests in Ethiopia that are of concern. A general manager of Dangote Cement, I think he was killed in a protest. You look at Burundi, so it's a region in a crisis, and I wish I had some good news.
Some good news.
I don't know, yeah.
Ephraim, do you have some good news?
I do. Finally. So in the land of Botswana, they have diamonds, and they have a lot of diamonds.
Okay.
And for the longest, a family of direct descendants from one of the colonizers, or at least people who participated, John Cecil Rhodes. These are the Oppenheimers. They had exclusivity to mine the diamonds in Botswana for the longest, actually, since they discovered them. But recently, the new president, the incumbent right now, told them, the company's called De Beers, that they need to produce diamonds for Botswana, and they have to give jobs to Botswana, which I think was also a really smart move on his part, to kind of say, at the end of the day, you guys have made so much money from us, it might as well impact our economy beyond the taxes we levy. Yeah.
And why did it take so long? Why is it happening?
You know, we're here about to have a conversation about leadership, and I think we cannot discount the quality of leadership. Even when we talk of protests across the continent and the region, quality leadership is the catch-22. You know, it's what sets nations apart, what sets situations apart. So I think for me, genuinely, what has lacked in Botswana has been maybe leadership brave enough to take on. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you're not just dealing with the cartels that control the diamond market in the world, and these guys have been doing it for centuries. So now you're coming in and telling them these are the terms. They can all of a sudden stop buying your diamonds, and that's so. I think to have leaders who are brave enough to kind of put that foot down and say this is what we want for our continent and for our people, that's very rare. Yeah,
that's some good news.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, we're going to dive into the show. Today's topic is something that's not really easy to discuss. So we are here to discuss the mayoral resignations that have been taking place since this year began.
Yes.
And this is just to the both of you. And of course, my fellow panelists will join in with their follow-up questions and opinions as we discuss this issue. I'm sure there's going to be lots of debate and difference in opinion. Please feel free to join the conversation using our hashtag, the Square RW on Twitter as we go on in the show. So my first question, like I said to both of you, Mr. Uwimana and Gakire, is this a case of self-evaluation, honest self-evaluation? And I'll start with just saying both the previous Kigali City Mayor and his predecessor did not last a year as mayors. Only 3 out of 8 mayors since 1994 have completed their 5-year terms. And it has been said that being in charge of one of the fastest growing cities in the world, Kigali, it's no mean feat. It's nothing very simple. And so my question basically is regarding the mayoral resignations. Do you think this is a case of honest self-evaluation, where the mayors resign out of their own volition because they don't want to let down their constituents and appointing authorities? Basically, is what we are seeing, are the mayors simply saying, I am not cut out of this and I cannot deliver on my performance contracts, and that's why they're resigning? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's self-evaluation. First of all, we need to make some corrections on the case of the city of Kigali. Out of the 8 mayors, I think 3 mayors has been appointed, was not elected. We can start with Mayor Musoni Prote, which was appointed. Kabandana Mark was appointed, and Rose was also appointed. That means from the 5, we remain with 5 mayors, which 3 has gone out the whole mandate, which is in the Isaba, Ntinda Shaka, also Kirabo. I think Mayor Kilabo.
Yes.
And I think on the case of Mayor there was a mayor who was designated to be ambassador, Mukaruriza. He was not sacked. He was not also he resigned for another job, which was another case. And I think for the recent mayor also, it was in the case because sometimes you can be elected, and once you feel it's a hard job, you choose to resign yourself on self-evaluation, and you go for another job. That is the case. Now he's working for another place. He's not jobless. He has got another job.
Okay, Mr. Innocent Uwimana. And Bob, what's your take on this?
Thank you. As Innocent is saying, we should maybe make it clear. When you want to understand the law government of Rwanda, you have to see the journey of decentralization. So as he's saying, when you count 8, per se, as in for the city of Kigali, for the first time before decentralization, it was about appointees by the president. Yes. So the first, we can't consider them 8. Okay. And then we remain with 5. Yes. For the 5, out of 5, the 3 complete their term of office, which is even according to the law, as the law government law, Article 60. So the 3 complete their term of office peacefully. The 2, maybe after electing the Mukaruriza as the mayor of Kigali, maybe even the country or appointing authority so much interest into her, then you have to give her another job as an ambassador. As I was also saying, the recent one of Pascal, I think it was because of maybe other reasons, but he also has a good job, which is even much better than where he was. And then for the self-evaluation, I think it depends on many factors. Not all go for the whatever I would say, my personal reasons. As you could be aware, if I can even set examples here, the EXCOM, that's the Executive Committee of Ruhango, it was dismissed by the District Council. So that's not the personal reasons. After maybe some audit, I had last week, had the OAG here and the state finances, there was some poor management. Then they had the State Council, had to see the report, then they had to dismiss them. Same thing to one who was serving, I think, Nyamaga and elsewhere. So, okay, there are those who resigned for the personal reasons, and personal reasons, maybe the different factors, as may be even for us who are here, where I'm working now, I wasn't there some maybe 5 years or 7 years back, even yourself or anybody. So I can say maybe there are some other things, I need to leave this job and go do something else. But to me, I think it's even like something to do with democracy, transparency, accountability. Maybe some of them go into this job or they seek votes, they're voted in by the authority or citizens. But because of the much demand by the citizens, somebody may say, I can't feed these shoes. Let me get out. Or I can serve better, I can feel well doing other things. Generally, me, I see it not alarming, because if you go by from maybe 2001, every term of service, that is 5 years, I'm saying, mayors have been resigning.
But the question, if you don't mind me interrupting, my question is, doesn't the stability of leadership help further the strategic agenda that we set out for ourselves? Because I don't, as far as I'm concerned, or at least as far as my knowledge goes, these mayors have a mandate. And most of under them, they have the Director Generals for Economic Development, and they have another Social Affairs. Then you have the Executive Secretary, and all these departments fall under them. My question is, if we are changing mayors as often as we have, because you're saying that it's not an issue, we should expect it as normal.
We shouldn't be alarmed,
into a job,
basically.
And the person is not, it's okay if you don't like the job and you move on with your life. My question is, why can't we create a higher standard of accountability before people enter office to say, don't come seeking this job if your intentions are not right? Because and I'm saying this based on the premise that, isn't it better to have stable leadership for the advancement of our strategic objectives?
If I really understand you and even agree with you that we should have these stable mayors and leaders at whatever level. But then, remember, these are the people who are elected. They are not like the DES, like District Secretary or the Corporate Service Division Manager, or whatever. These compete. These even last for a longer time, and that's sustainability. But these mayors or an ExCom committee of 3 people, these are not voted by the people. So if maybe the demand is too high, somebody can say, I sought your votes, but I think these 2 years that I've been serving, I think I can't fit.
But doesn't that mean that the
sustainability I accept, honestly. But I mean, the district of Rwanda now, as I see it, it has like 11 directorates. Meaning, if one person, a leader is important. I'm not saying that mayor is not important. It's very, very important. But mayor getting out of the district doesn't stop the services or anything with delivery. Yeah. I can give an example, like during the presidential campaigns. I think you guys will follow.
Of course.
When the campaigns were to be at Rubavu, the mayor wasn't in the office. But I think, if you all agree, the site of Rubavu was the best in the country. Having more people who had this fun, who has this common song now. So I'm just trying to say that, yes, the district, the mayor is important, the sustainability is important, but let's not measure the district's performance and delivery with 3 or 1 people.
No, but you see, at the end of the day, we have Imihigo.
Yes.
And my question is, if we're not going to measure the performance of a district on the individual who's leading the district, then what is the point of having that person leading the district?
Yeah, I think we have to be clear on that. The responsibility of the district is not on the mayor. It is at the district council. The mayor is not working alone. He's working as a team, a part of the district council. That's why even when you see all the ExCom, when the ExCom is resigning, the district council take over. They take one from the district council who is going to take over for the management of the district. The responsibility is on the district council, not at the mayor. The mayor is one of the part of the district council.
But I'd just like to add to Bernard, just very quickly add to what Ephraim was saying. I think, and I was reading about this prior to the show, it's an interesting phenomenon if you look at it from this other end of the spectrum. You're talking about sustainability. If there's a high turnover, how do you ensure sustainability? This mayor's work, for it to actually be entrenched and there's progress. And Mr. Uwimana Innocent said they work as a whole. But I want to approach this as the resignations of mayors. Maybe there's an element about it that relates to good governance, because this mayor, sits and says, what, this is my performance contract, this is my imihigo, and I realize before I disappoint citizens and appointing authorities alike, let me leave before I set the house on fire, so to speak. And that element of actually, calling a spade and resigning, as opposed to in the long run, and this happens in other African countries, the mayor will just keep on being in office each year or each quarter, and there are elements of performance contracts that are not fulfilled. So it's interesting to think about it that way. Is this actually an element of governance whereby mayors are actually being accountable to themselves and to their constituents? Food for thought.
I would just like to shift it to the process, because if we are saying the mayor is not just the only person running the district, you have local councils, that's fine. There's a structure. But if I would use an example of a football team, if the team is not performing well, we are going to blame the coach. My favorite team, Arsenal, has in the news, So I think we would need more clarity, one, on these personal reasons, because right now it just happens like it's rhetoric.
Yeah, I think...
for every resignation, someone says personal reasons, and that's it.
Don't we have a right to know?
Why don't we? Yes. Where is the transparency around this process to say, actually, I'm resigning because I had ABC targets and they were not met? That discussion is missing right now.
Yeah, as I said, the coach for the district, I think, is not the mayor. It's the chairperson of the district council.
Okay.
He's the one who's his boss.
So you have
the mayor is implementing the decision from the district council.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yes. The coach is the chairperson of the district council.
But are you saying the mayor has no power?
He has. He has the power,
exactly.
but the power, they are limited because he has the council.
To the extent that the mayor can make some decisions, some key decisions, I think we can't entirely dismiss their role.
That's why the mayor is responsible to the district council.
Maybe if I can bring into just using the context of banners in the mayor, the coach and the manager.
Yes.
If you put it in the framework of football, mayor is actually a captain.
He's the
not
captain.
like a manager, coach, or one.
Yes.
So the manager and the coach
is the chairperson of the district council.
So mayor.
So
but structure-wise, mayor is the part of the council.
Yes.
But then within the council, because they have this chairperson and the deputy vice chairperson and the secretary, they say, among us, who can help us to run the daily business of the district? And this person, it is even in the rules, this person will be reporting every after 6 months what he or she is doing for the entire council. He or she, the ExCom, the people who make the ExCom of the district, they have to report to the council what they are doing.
I like that you raise the issue of the captain. Yeah. So let's go back to the football team. It's not just anybody that becomes the captain.
Exactly my point.
So we cannot. What we want you to explain is why you feel the captain, either way, can just give away the ban.
Yeah,
and whether that doesn't create a vacuum in the football team.
Actually. No, go ahead. I'll ask my follow-up question.
But also, we've seen captain being removed with the armbands. We've seen them. If maybe some of us watch football.
Absolutely, yes.
But there's a time when the manager says, this armband, please, we can give you to.
Hand it
but even beyond
But I wanted to explain, because you say you have the right to explain the personal reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I can even repeat, not all are saying the personal reasons.
Yes, not all. I think
I've been given examples.
Yes.
Those who are dismissed by the councils, those who resign and then later get imprisoned, them.
Yes.
Even the previous, during the term of 11-15, many were like those who were Nyamashich and were imprisoned because of embezzlement for the 12 funds and whatever. So it's not that all mayors resign because of personal reasons. Those who resign because of personal reasons,
Can I just ask, because I feel like Brenna talked about it and her question was too faceted, and I've been trying to ask this question from the beginning. Okay, there's the part of removing the armband and transferring that, we understand. But the selection of the captain, That's the question we have.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the electoral process to become a mayor is easier than the job. Because it means that anybody goes and says, oh, I want to become mayor. They go, they get a couple of votes, they get into that position, then they look at the job and they're like, this is actually much harder than I thought, and they leave, no repercussions. What we're asking is, isn't there a better way for us to select mayors, or at least for us to identify, or the criteria, or the criteria for you to put forward your candidature, shouldn't it be higher so that we minimize on this turnover? Because I feel like we are solving the surface issue instead of actually going to the root of it, that the people who get into these positions from the get-go probably have issues that have not been addressed at the beginning of the process.
And Bob, maybe just before you answer that, can you just break down also to our audience members the process, the elective process of mayors? Yes. I know it starts from the council, that are elected by the public, and then the council is done that. If you can just break it down for the panel and our audience.
This is how it is done normally. The mayor, the first thing, they are all elected. For instance, let me use an example of maybe like in a district which has like 10 sectors. For instance, Chichuchiro, Nyarujenyo, whatever. So they elect their councillors. You, where you live, the sector you live in, that's Mrenje, you cast a vote.
Yes.
You vote these councillors.
The councillors.
Then after voting these councillors, they also convene, right? At the district level. Some other electoral colleges, youth, women, and whatever. Then among themselves, I might be going to the council of Nyarujenjo Gasabo from Kachiu. Then I'm elected by the citizens, residents of Kachiu. Then when it's at district level, those councillors who have been elected from different, the youth and even representing their sectors, they do elect among themselves the mayor. But he also contests and say, I want to be the mayor of the district because of ABC.
So does he present his credentials?
He does.
And what are the minimum requirements? An education level?
Education level, minimally. It's at least you have to have the first degree.
Okay.
Yes.
To be able to contest for the mayorship.
Okay.
Then there are even many that time. There are like 4 councillors can compete for the mayorship. Then they elect one of them.
So the only requirement is a first degree.
The minimum.
I'm saying, is that the only requirement?
Are there other requirements, positions of leadership,
the other things like
previous positions of leadership?
Your integrity record and everything.
Their experience.
There are like 8 things, by the way.
So now, when the people who are voting these councilmen in as choosing that leader, do they base it on that, or is it just based on the normal democracy where you have to go campaign, the most popular is the person who gets the vote, or is it based on the same way we pick cabinet members, where the most qualified is the one who actually gets into that position?
And perhaps even the issue of a plan. Do they present a plan and say, this is my proposal, if you elect me, this is what I plan to do?
Yes.
They do. They do it before the councillors. Then they say, this one we have. Because you have to say, Bob, I started this, I've been living in this district for these years, I've done this. When I was in private sector, maybe I did this, and then they say, this guy should be our mayor. Thereafter, the vice mayor, for in charge of economic affairs, also contests. They vote among the candidates, plus the vice mayor. Then thereafter, they swear. They say, we're going to serve this term, like the statement says, you know it. Then from that moment, the chairperson of the council, for him is the first to do it, the first vote, the council bureau, who is the chairperson, the vice, and the secretary. Then thereafter they say, okay, now it's time for the mayor and the vice mayor and whatever. Then they vote for them. Thereafter, they swear and everything, they start the job. They even given like a kind of a handover. So someone who was serving the district before can do a handover, say, these are the projects, we will keep on going. Plus what you've told the councils, the council members, and the residents of this district to do. Then the process starts. So other things to be done are in the law that governs all governments. Say every 6 years you will come and present to the council what you're doing. There is MHIGO, which has the key performance indicators, which even had that thing of the national level, they sign with the president. But as Diana said, you can maybe be doing it. Say, now, we had the Kimhigo for this year, 17-18. Evaluation is coming in June. When you sit, you say, I've been presenting to the council, they've been shooting me some questions. I see at the end of June, we might still be the last. And even by them, if you see those who resigned, for instance, I don't know their reasons, but I'm just seeing as somebody who's on the side analyzing the situation.
Yes.
I think it's like, for instance, in Pacific district, if the district has been performing like above 20 years, for like 2 years, what do you expect?
Yes.
You might say, let me just throw in the towel and say.
But then the question is, aren't there repercussions for that? Because I do know like there are those that get thrown in jail for embezzlement. But what about purely poor performance? Isn't somebody, what's the accountability system or structure to ensure that people don't just, or they see a review coming up and they're like, you know what? For personal reasons, okay, no, maybe not even for personal reasons, but they step aside and they say, I don't think I can do this anymore. And then, like you said, they go get better jobs elsewhere. So life technically gets better for them for poor performance.
But the job they get is not for the, maybe sometimes it's for them applying for their own, they compete public. They are not given jobs because they have been mayors.
No. But that's part of your CV. Anyway.
Yeah, it's part of your CV. And what we're saying is, since you failed at public service, there should be
a consequence.
I mean, if a mayor resigns and the next day Muturaje is seeing this mayor running some lucrative business, what kind of message are you sending?
Let's be fair and balanced. Now, I've been a mayor, maybe I'm just using examples.
Yes.
I've been a mayor of Nyaruguru. Maybe it's a low district. It has its own background and challenges. My capacity are not suitable to lead Nyaruguru. But I think I can work other things better. If I'm given another job, maybe like in doing other things, being a consultant, a project manager, maybe the head of the project, I can do it.
But so in other words, it's okay.
It's okay. You can. What do you have to say?
It's not totally okay, but it's not.
But what's your contribution to this?
My contribution on that, I think it's not it's free to resign. It's free to resign for me. I think it's even in other sectors. I can work for a bank, and tomorrow I feel I am not comfortable, and I resign. I go to be a trader, to do another job. It has been happening also in local government. Local government is not a strange place. It's an institution like other institution.
Yes.
It has some criteria to be in local government.
Yes.
You have to fulfill some criteria.
Yes.
Once you find you are not able to fulfill those criteria, you are free to resign. Let's say he has given an example from Nyaruguru. I remember in the last mandate, 2011, there was a mayor, he was called Felix. Felix. He was there, he has been serving, and at a certain point, he has found it's not his place, he has resigned. Now he's a trader. He's doing very well in trading. He's trading produce, maize, beans, and he's doing very well.
But our question is, Mr. Uwimana, Chair, is when they leave the office that for their reasons they fail to deliver on their targets.
Yeah.
Shouldn't there be a mechanism in place whereby when they leave, there should be an element of accountability? Yeah. It's like I have a job, you appoint me for a job, I'm your manager, and then one day I wake up and I say, I can't do this job. And, you said it's a system of a whole. There are different parts working in it. So if he leaves, there's no vacuum. But at the end of the day, is there an element whereby if this person resigns abruptly, aren't there elements of accountability? Yeah,
there are some administrative measures that can be taken. But for some who has done embezzlement or thief, those who there's a jail. They're always in jail.
Yes.
Yeah, he has given an example for Nyamagabe and another example.
But I think there's something more here. We're comparing public office to the private sector.
Yeah, and it's unacceptable.
And public office is different. Public office is much higher. It's a much greater calling than just being in a bank or in a business. When somebody takes on the responsibility to be a mayor or vice mayor, the impact or the responsibility of his district fall on him. You're the chair of your district, sir.
Yes.
And you know that the responsibility of those members in your district are on you. So the idea is that the accountability systems for poor performance should be greater on you than on everybody else.
And just to add, from the example that you gave, that this mayor who left and he's now doing trading. I mean, if that is the message that we are sending, how can we guarantee that when these people are in office, they are not actually creating some level of patronage that will allow them to do business after? How do you explain that?
Because I also genuinely
Which goes back to the process.
Yes.
How rigorous?
How do we select
How rigorous
these
is this
people?
process?
No,
That, you know, we don't get people who just...
The process is fine, I think, that's because they are elected by all people living in the district.
Yes.
You are campaigning in front of the people, and you are accountable to the people. Once you have presented your program and you are not able to fulfill it, it's better to be honest and say, I can't. Move on.
So we are going to get back to this.
Yes.
30 minutes have already gone, and we have to cut a break. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned.
Many people have been asking what we have been up to. Well, we have told the different stories from decision makers, but this time round it will be different. We will be getting head to head with various influencers and get to the heart of the matter. It is not an easy ride, but we'll endeavor to get you there. It will be insightful, informative, and at times we will agree to disagree, because we are the bridge to your leaders.
Welcome back to The Square. Tonight we are discussing the recent mayoral resignations and looking at issues of accountability and performance. And we are joined here by Mr. Uimana Innocent, the chairperson of RALGA, as well as Bob Gachire from Minalok, Ministry of Local Government. My next question before we go to our social media feed is tying into what we were discussing before, and this is to do with performance and accountability. My question is, in enforcing this, you know, and this is what some people have been saying on social media, maybe the performance contract is maybe too much, maybe these mayors are biting off more than they can, chewing more than they can take on, and, you know, when they fail to meet their targets, they go and they're replaced. Is there another element whereby if they fail to meet their targets, can't we still find a way of, I don't know, and this is a question, it's an open question. Instead of them leaving and having someone else to come and replace and, you know, more or less kind of start off the whole process, is there an element that doesn't have to be so punitive when they feel that they fail to meet their targets, they leave? Is there an element whereby we can have something a bit more sustainable to just track their performance but still have them maintain office? To just reduce on the turnover?
Well, to me, I will repeat it even several times.
Yes.
I think the mayor hasn't just a title.
It's just a title.
In local government
I think this is something we need to get drummed into our heads to understand.
Mayor or the EXCO members, these three people,
yes,
it's a part of the process. It's not a concrete, I might say. It's as if, even where I work, somebody can request for a job at Minaro, then after like 3 to 2 months say, you know, I can't fit here. We've been, I think whenever the cabinet sits, let's say at the central level, we're always hearing the appointments. Maybe, but you also hear people, these appointments, they're not extending the structures of the central government, meaning some people have been laid off. So I think maybe you said it better when we were starting, the demands of these people, the demands of the country, if you're not fit to, you go. Yesterday I was even discussing with one of the district leader, just like we were saying, but as you're asking right now, but how do you see this situation now? See, this is normal. I myself, if I see tomorrow that I can't do this, I will just get a letter and say, you know.
You know what?
But what I want to remind everyone, because it's been talked several times, mayors in Rwanda are elected. And and they're elected first, as I said, by the people as a councillor. They first elect him or her as a councillor. Then at the next level, the fellow councillors can elect him or her as a mayor. So mayor is not a person who is like a district executive committee who requests for a job, then you compete, you get 50 for oral, you go for the written or whatever. This is the person who presents his or her projects and manifesto, then you're elected. Then after some time you say, you know, and holding him accountable after resigning, I think it's not really, because this person has failed to deliver as an elected person. He didn't request for a job and did an interview and whatever. So this person can resign as a politician and go do other things.
I think maybe on the square we're being a bit too harsh. Bernard and Ephraim, what do you think? Maybe it's us who are being too...
No, it's not being harsh.
Too harsh to ask for accountability after they resign. Maybe we're asking for too much.
Maybe we're asking for too much. Because I just don't understand how you can try out mayorship.
How is that? By the way, how is that even a thing? By the way, you were saying the selection. They are not selected. They are elected.
But before somebody puts in their credentials to be elected, they have to meet some criteria.
Maybe the issue
with any
all the councillors.
So my question is, can't we improve or at least raise the bar?
The standards.
The standards in which we require. And granted, somebody might argue and say that sounds a bit elitist, but look at what's happening. The fact of the matter is that the quality of leadership is coming in and is failing to deliver on its mandate. And then we're like, it's normal. No, it shouldn't be that way. We should have mayors who finish their terms. And we have acknowledged that.
And are re-elected, possibly.
And re-elected.
Is it possible to be re-elected?
It is. Yes. Because as I said, Article 6 of their law says only it's limited. They are elected once in the 5-year term of service. 5 years. Yes. If you want, you can
be re-elected.
But that's the limit.
Yes.
They can only serve for 2 terms. More than.
I wouldn't want to dwell so much on the electoral process. At least so far, what we are seeing, even globally, you know, things around elections and the typical description of democracy is not really helping. You know, and I think if we come back home and have a closer look, if we are looking at these resignations, yes, personal reasons, there is concern that, you know, either way, even if these people leave, work is affected. Public service delivery is affected somewhere. Because, you know, the whole process, again, of going back, having elections, and it's costly. Right now, if you talk to the Electoral Commission, they're struggling raising, you know, funding for parliamentary elections. So now you're taking them back and they are going to local government. So what we are saying is, can we have a better way of doing these things so that we minimize
the turnover?
So what the resignations? So what Bernard is saying and Ephraim are saying to you, Mr. Uimana and Mr.
How do you
Gachive,
consider that it is high? We have, let's say, let's discuss on figures. This time it is 4 mayors within 30 mayors.
Yes. It's not, we understand it's not
high,
the majority.
What is low, it is low.
We understand it's not the majority. We're not saying it's the majority.
Yes.
What we're asking is to throwing back the question at you. You know, the relevant institutions, the line institutions of this of these organizations. We're just asking you. We know mayoral duties in this country. It's at a high standard, and this is evidenced by the progress Rwanda is making as a country.
Yes.
But what we are asking you is that for the few where there are these issues of resignations, and we're throwing it back to you. Please open up to us. Don't you think maybe there is a way that we can increase the way in which we elect them, in terms of the criteria, the standard, so that the caliber of people, there's 1% resignation. 1 or 0 point something.
0 point something.
Yeah. We're just striving for, the best of the best. Yeah. Is that something you think? Are you open to that idea?
We open to that.
Yes.
And we consider it. And we would be happy when all of them finish these 5 years.
Yes.
And even 10 years.
Yes.
But even we have examples for those who even finished 10 years.
Yes.
Who even finished their 2 terms of office. The examples are there.
Is that because you?
They are there.
Is it the normal one, or the normal one is the resignations?
No, the normal one. What we always hope for the best.
Yes.
We aspire for the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the best in this context is having mayors who serve 10 years.
Is that what
10
happens?
years.
It is not what is happening.
Why
But
not?
what I'm saying and
How can
repeating,
we fix it? How can we get,
this is where I'm coming. How can we fix it? It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Because the EXCO members who were serving districts in 2001, or even 2006, and what the quality by then is not the quality we have now. Even if you go the chairpersons of the council, if all of them are doctors, PhD holders.
How did we get to that point, though?
It's like all of us as a country.
Yes.
It's like me, Bana, who say me, I want to go to the south and be the mayor.
Yes.
That's it. I think it's an entire work for the whole country. But if I see how the journey has been doing,
yes,
and this is from a reliable source, because after the 17 years of decentralization, we did an assessment, an implementation impact assessment of decentralization. So the findings, and this was not done by the government or the ministry, it was done by an independent firm, which had even some foreign experts, regional, from Kenya, they did an assessment for us, just for this policy. And the findings are promising. They're also saying what this, even this we are saying, they were telling us that the turnover is not maybe alarming, but I think it should be checked on. The capacity, that's a concern. Those are the actions for us to look to take into consideration. Yes, I accept the capacity is always built along the way. But I'm not saying I'm comparing myself or the country when the thing started, the policy as in 2001. But I accept there's a journey.
I like the way you say there's a journey.
But I'm saying, resigning, people resign, even they will resign.
I would like to chip in there, and I think it is true. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of progress that has been made, in terms of local government. Yes. And I can actually cite the most recent 2008 Forum report by Mo Ibrahim, which looks at public service. Rwanda ranks quite favorably because if they look at the benchmark, I think it's only Mauritius which got 100% score on recruitment and advancement in Africa in terms of public service delivery. Rwanda in that report actually scores above average, above around 75. It's the best in the region, actually, So that shows you that there's a lot of progress that is being made. But we are saying, and as a country, this is what we are already saying, that instead of getting 75, why can't we even get 100?
Or even 120.
So that's where we need you to say, there are a few areas that we need to fix. And this is what needs to be fixed.
And this is what we're actually doing to prove those
That's
things.
what I'm saying.
But you're saying that it's not alarming that people are resigning.
I'm saying we need to be at 100. Yes. But maybe we are at 80 or 70. So these 20 gaps, that whatever, depending on one's angle, need to be covered.
Yes.
So the reason we don't have 100 is because of many factors, including the resignation of some mayors who are not many event, by the way, who are below average. Yes. I don't wish myself to see somebody resigning, honestly. But then there's some other factors. Because the demand is high. The demand is high. The Vatula just saying, the citizens are saying, we want a road, we want explanations, we want water, we want electricity.
But then you see, it's not a high demand. That's a basic demand. As a citizen, when you have a leader, you say we would want services.
That's it.
Granted, we are better than people in the region, but we as Rwandans have always said that we are not benchmarking ourselves against other people. We are benchmarking ourselves against each other, against ourselves. So the question is, if the citizens say we want roads, we want this, want that,
and you can't give it to them, what happens?
But then the question is, why did you then go into that position if you knew you're not going to be able to? And I'm saying this saying this not saying that those individuals went into the position knowing that they were not going to deliver, but I'm saying that the criteria we used to get them in the door is not the criteria they need to get them to stay in the room. And that's where we need to address, and that's what we've been saying since the beginning of the show, that how mayors come into that position needs to be reassessed, and we need to find a better way to ensure that when people enter that office, the caliber is high enough to manage these demands that we call high.
Yeah, I think when they come to the office, they have the capacity they needed. But the things, there are some measures we are putting in to empower them. There are some induction courses we are doing to them. That's why I think it's a journey. Tomorrow we'll be having 100% mayors don't resign. That's why it's a process. That's why you have seen in 2016 there was a big induction course for all councillors within the country.
After the election.
After the election. That was the first time we did that one. And every year we are doing evaluation of that induction course. I think those are the measures we are putting in place to empower the the councillors.
Yes.
I am not differentiating mayor and the councillors, because a mayor is a councillor.
In the first place.
Yes, in the first place.
Of course.
We are empowering all the councillors to do the job, because the success of the districts depend to the councillors.
Yes.
It's not for one person.
One individual.
The imihigo is not for the mayor only. The imihigo, the performance contract, is for the all councillors, for the all district, even for the citizen. They have an input to achieve the imihigo.
So we are going to go to our social media feed. There are lots of tweets. This is a very burning discussion. Of course, many people are interested in. But thank you very much for your input, Mr. Gachiri and Mr. Uwimana. So our first tweet is from Charles Haba. Charles Haba is part of the Square. He's not here with us today, unfortunately. But his tweet is, he says, in human resource audits, and you can see it on the screen, they teach that if you have a very high labor turnover rate in your institution, then high chances are that there's a problem with the employer. This could be the case with Mifotra, Minalok versus mayors. So he's kind of pointing the finger at is the issue maybe now with the managing institutions?
And they're trying to point the finger at the citizens to say we have high demands.
What Charles is doing is he's turning it around. Maybe the issue.
I think what Haba is saying, mayors, in this sense, they are not accountable to Mifotra or Minaro. These are elected officials.
Yes.
They are elected by the people. His case of turnover would be for like me who competed for the job and nobody else. Yes. That if I seek a job in Minarok and then I resign another person, then that's Minarok and Mifotra to set the criteria. But this sense, we are saying the mayors. And mayors, maybe the councillors lacked oversight. I don't know. Those who voted him in or her in, from where he or she lives at the sector level. But this sense can be applied to Mifotra, to Minarok, to employers, whatever. The employer of the mayor is the council, as he's saying, and even the voters who cast their vote, voting him or her, not Mifotra or Minarok.
So are we saying, just as, what's the issue with the voters? Is it that these voters are not in position to pick the right,
to discern?
Yes. Do we have an issue with the voters? Because if you're saying, and you kept insisting on the electoral process, and these are voted people, what's the problem with the voters?
They don't know how to pick the right leaders?
But you also said that we are seeing issues of elections, even the presidents who are elected, and then they can be disappointed as well. Maybe they're also disappointed.
Okay.
And when they're disappointed, they can also vote another person.
Very quickly, on to our next tweet. This is from Kaitana. And Kaitana is asking, ethics and accountability tend to go hand in hand. Do we have an elaborate code of conduct and ethical standards, and is it known to these mayors?
Sure, it is.
Yes, it is.
It is, and it is under the custodian of the ombudsman, the leadership code of conduct, where also mayors belong.
Okay. Very interesting. We also have some more tweets, and I'll just quickly go to our screen.
Actually, there's even a particular one for local government leaders.
Yes.
Just 1 second. And this is also from, and he echoes what we were actually talking about earlier on, about exiting. And we went round and round, but this is an audience member called Jackson. And he says, maybe there should be an exit process that is a bit beyond a simple resignation letter stating personal reasons. Same way the candidate has to defend his candidacy to be voted in the first place. Okay. So if he wants to resign, and this is someone on our social feed asking us, there should be something more than a resignation letter.
Exactly.
Not that we want to force this, you said it, the mayors will resign. There's nothing that, they were elected.
Even tomorrow.
Apparently it's normal.
Even tomorrow.
Just write letter.
Really? Yeah.
Even when we are sitting here, someone can
resign.
The exit process that he's talking about.
Exit process.
Yes.
Shouldn't there be one? Shouldn't there be something more elaborate?
Just handing over a resignation letter and you leave, and I'm sure the duties.
But that's not how it is done.
Yes. Explain to us in detail.
Maybe chairperson can do as
the council. Maybe.
But normally when you write to the council, the mayor who wants to resign, you write to the chairperson of the council.
Yes.
And then the council they analyze the reason.
Can the council refuse a resignation?
Yes, it can happen.
Has it ever happened?
Yes.
They even vote for it.
They not accept the Yes, they even vote for it.
Yes.
The council sit and they see the reasons he has put in the letter for resignation, and they vote.
So is it the council that tells us is it the council that tells the mayor to tell the public that it's personal reasons?
No. It's a mayor who writes it.
Because he has to give the reasons to the council. So he gives the full picture to the council, but then to the public.
No, it depends. As I said, there are some mayors who can resign if we give the reason. We have give the examples for Uhango, Nyamagabe.
Yes.
Those are some reasons.
And the reasons are evident to the public.
The reason was evident to the public. Yes.
And the media, yes.
Yes, in the media even.
Yes.
Everything who passes to the council, it's public.
Yes.
Any decision from the council, it is even for the public at the sector level, at the seller level. Everyone needs to know.
Okay.
Maybe a bit about the process. When this person writes a letter, the mayor, he or she submits to the council. Then the council convenes a session. They just see why we've received your letter. You said for your personal reasons. They say, okay. They judge. They even analyze some on their own session. Then they say, difference, this and this, we accept your resignation.
Can this process be made more transparent so that to avoid speculation? Because to be honest, if you ask an ordinary person walking on the street and you say, this mayor resigned, their response would be, they were told to resign. But if we had more clarity, on the process and have a bit of more transparency, I think we wouldn't be speculating.
There is transparency. It is there. It is even by the law. Citizens have the right to know when this council convene and accept the resolutions. Yes. Their decision on that letter or whatever is published.
It's published at the sector level.
At the sector level.
They have the access. Even the media can say, I need a copy of the council resolutions about this mayors. They can get it.
Yes.
It's like, as by the access to information and whatever, this is like a public information.
Just very quickly, one last tweet, and this is from Prudence. And Prudence is asking that, how does the so-called campaign program of district mayors tally with Imihigo?
Something fishy in the mayor election process. You didn't say it.
How does it tally with Imihigo?
This is
when they go and lobby.
They go?
Basically, just asking, how does the so-called campaign program of district mayors tally with Imihigo?
Let's, for instance, now.
Just very quickly, because we're about to
yes.
Yes.
For instance, now, like we are conducting the electoral commission is conducting the by-elections for city of Kigali. So this person who will be voted in, now the year is ending, the fiscal year of 17-18. So this mayor will depend on the targets for now 18-19, because that's when he or she came in.
Okay.
But if you elect like in January, when you have like 6 months to go, you just get what you promised the citizens and what's the Imihigo, then you try to continue. Supported by the council. And other partners.
We've come to the end, Ephraim, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a heated discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Wiwana and Gachire. Berna and Ephraim, always a pleasure to have you on board. It's a very heated discussion. Please keep with this topic using the hashtag #TheSquareRW. And for those who tweeted in, thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining us this evening. Have a good evening.